it recording?
Yeah, it's recording now.
Okay. I'm going to introduce my guest today, Vidya Athreya. I met Vidya in 2003, I think. And it was at a crucial time in my life because I had spent 10 years looking at reptiles and I wanted to see the world in a different way. And I was also transitioning from being a filmmaker to becoming a writer. So our friendship goes back a long way. And what better way to start off this series than with a friend who would hopefully forgive and accommodate all the glitches that happen.
Yeah.
So Vidya started looking at reptiles in Junnar in
Not
2003,
reptiles.
right? Not reptiles, leopards. Did I say reptiles? Oh
Yeah.
no. Okay. Okay. Was it 2003 when you started in Junnar?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
and then she went to the neighboring village of Valley of Akole, where she did fieldwork for her PhD, and then she went on to study leopards in West Bengal and Himachal and other places. So, Vidya, I'm going to start off by asking you how you've been coping with the lockdown. Has it been a period of calm or anxiety?
No, it's been pretty nice, sadly, because it's in Goa and Goa hasn't had many cases. So it's really nice and relaxing. And there's fish and there's bread. And, you don't feel like you're in lockdown. But so it's been fine. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. Indulge me. I'm going to ask you three really simple personal questions. Don't think too much about it, just whatever comes to your mind. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Whoa, that's a loaded question. It's like going up to a villager and asking them, what do you think of the leopards that live in your backyard? Because they are loaded questions which you haven't thought
It's a
about before,
simple
right?
question. Just treat it as a straightforward question. There is no double meaning or underlying bigness.
Okay, so it's sleeping in the sun in the winter.
That's nice. What's your
Okay.
greatest fear?
Hmm. Greatest fear. Now that's a tough one. I don't know.
That's okay. Who are your heroes?
I guess my grandparents were my heroes, kind of nice people.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask you about the work that you've done and are doing now. You started off studying leopards in farmlands of Junnar. Why did you choose that location and not, say, the forests of Tadoba, for instance?
Well, I was living there, and then I came to know that there are leopards around, and they've been killing people around, and it was fascinating because I didn't expect them to be there. I didn't even want to believe that they are there. So I was living there, and so I started working on it.
Am I right in assuming that leopards and farmlands are not going to behave very differently from leopards and forests?
Um, so the thing is, like leopard is a species, right? And like it's about leopards living in a different environment, something we don't know much about. But the nearest example I can take of another really adaptable species are human beings. So if humans are living as tribals, or they're living in the US, or they're living in Bombay, they don't really differ very much, in the basic way that they are. So I don't expect them to be different. Like things like, how they use their resources, what are their home ranges. I mean, all that will change, their densities and stuff. But the way that they are basically, I don't think changes.
So now we're hearing many more instances of leopards outside even cities like Hyderabad, Bangalore, Madras, Chennai, Jaipur. Is that a new phenomenon or has it been happening for a long time and we just didn't know about it?
I think it's been there for a really long time and you don't know about it. Just yesterday, I was talking to somebody and I was telling her that, I didn't know that there were leopards in these landscapes in Western Maharashtra. Like, we used to go to Shirdi all the time, and we used to drive across these entire leopard landscapes, and we had no idea. She was like, "Oh my God, I've gone to Shirdi so many times." Even I didn't realize. So it's just that, it's like, if you don't look, you don't see. That's all, I think.
So habitat loss is like a big threat for a lot of species. And if leopards are living in this whole range of landscapes from rural to urban to forest, is it considered a big threat for leopards? Habitat loss, I mean.
Yeah, so habitat loss, I think, really affects species which are specialists, which need that habitat. But leopards, like humans, are generalists and very, very adaptable. So I think both they and we can adapt to a whole range of, habitats. So I don't think it's that much a problem for them. But things like nowadays linear infrastructure, high-speed highways, all these things make a big difference. So these leopard landscapes in Western Maharashtra were not leopard landscapes earlier. They were semi-arid tracks. They're actually drought prone regions where irrigation came into and made it, irrigated landscape 24/7. So before irrigation, there used to be wolves there because it was a semi-arid landscape. So the wolves had to give away to leopards now. So everything is, there's this saying that I've heard so much, nothing is permanent except change. And, humans and leopards, I think, have learned to adapt to that. But of course, it's affected species like great Indian bustards and others which can't do this, which can't adapt so well, right?
So if a large dangerous cat lives in all these human landscapes, then is conflict inevitable?
No, it's not. So it's pretty interesting because one of my team members, Dee, she did this study in Himachal Pradesh where she spoke to the rural people who have shared their space with leopards for a hell of a long time. Now, they are not tribals, okay? They're just rural Indians, but they've lived there for generations, and so have leopards lived there for generations. And it was really interesting because when you use the word dangerous here, you've already given it, you know, you've already made it dangerous, right? So, and we do that all the time. Like the word predator, it's already a dangerous thing. But what she found when she spoke to the villagers there is that they call these animals mrig, which is a very neutral word which just says wild animal. It doesn't make it dangerous, or it doesn't make it predatory. So I think all the people that have shared space with these animals have, and they know the behavior of the species. Like they will say, oh, only when like the cub is around, the mom is more aggressive. So often they know more about the animal because they're sharing space with the animal than we do. But sadly, whatever comes out through media, and especially in the past, I think now media is getting much more better in terms of at least the media we have worked with in Bombay. And generally, I find that if you engage with the media, they're much more open to what you have to say. So, but like National Geographic, Discovery, it's all like man eaters and it's something that needs to be changed. So it's negative connotations that dominate the what we read and what we hear. But I don't think that's the case on the ground.
Okay, so if I want to use dangerous or predatory, what would you suggest, like to people in the media?
Just a leopard.
Well, sometimes it's boring to just keep saying leopard. You need a descriptive word of some kind. It's not a house cat, right? So it's in a different league.
See, you're not going to call the house cat dangerous, but it's bloody dangerous to all the birds and the squirrels over there.
But the squirrels and the birds aren't writing the stories, right?
Yeah, that is not a problem, because I remember a journalist when I just started working in Akole, and I spoke to her and I said, all these people are living and leopards. She was like, oh, this is fascinating. Let me ask my editor if I can write about it. And then she calls me back and says, the editor said, only if there are attacks, there's a story. So, yeah. So
Mm,
then, yeah. So I think it's
yeah.
important.
So, how in the places you study, you say that people can live in harmony with leopards. How is that possible? In those landscapes, there are no wild prey for leopards to live off. So, how are leopards able to navigate these spaces without affecting people's livelihoods?
Yeah. So I'm a bit of, just to let you know, I'm a bit reticent to use the word harmony or coexistence because I think people give it a lot more meaning than it should have, so I will not use that. But all I will say is that both the species, humans and leopards, have learned to navigate that same space. Okay. And the leopards, I think, do it way more actively than human beings do, because leopards in these human dominated landscapes, when we collared them, we realized that they are very, very nocturnal. So when human beings are asleep, that is when the leopards use the landscape. So in the night time, rural India, pretty much everybody goes to sleep. So, from the leopard's point of view, in inverted commas, it's almost a wild landscape because there are no humans there. So I think that is one big way. And uh, it doesn't matter that there's no wild prey, because the density of domestic animals in Indian rural landscapes is so high. It'll beat any protected area in the country. Like, just the density of cattle and sheep and goat, I think, is 150 per square kilometer average. And this was like a while back. So, and then there are dogs, lot and lot of dogs, and these are not stray dogs, because rural India is not as dirty as, I mean, the towns are, but not like, the fields and all where people live. But the density of people is so much that even if two houses out of one owns a dog, that's a hell of a lot of dogs in the landscape, and the leopard just needs one dog a week. So, and they eat a lot of dogs. That's what our study also found.
So, assuming that there will be some people who don't want to have the risk of living with leopards.
Right.
And would you suggest that if people stop maintaining these dogs, then the population of leopards, the leopard numbers will go down?
I don't think so, because see, one, it's not just dogs. Then there are goats, and then there are sheep, and then there are bandicoots, and then there are pigs. And, you know, in rural society anywhere in the world depends on domestic animals. And you can't go to it's like somebody coming and telling you, like, you can't keep dogs here in your house. I'll be like, who the hell are you to tell me what I should do with my life? So I don't think that is where the solution lies. Because when I started working, I remember people were saying you should tell the farmers not to grow sugarcane. But you can't do that, because sugarcane is a crop that doesn't need so much hard work. It gives them a lot of money, and they are happy with it. And they also realize that because of sugarcane, the leopards have come. So I don't think it's right on us to go tell another human being living in another situation what to do, what not to do. But I think what we can do is assist them, at least in their livestock losses, so that the impact is not much. And also, a lot of these issues lie in the domain of perception of people. It also lies in relationships between the local people and the forest department, or the local people and people like me, who are seen to be working for the animal. So a lot of it is also good relationships, justice issues, and things like that. Justice, why I'm saying, is that really poor, lower caste person may lose goats, and nobody will care much about it. But some journalist's father-in-law's dog is attacked by a leopard, and immediately a trap cage is put. And these are real instances, I'm telling you. So this is a justice issue, and I think our society really needs to, like, pull up on that.
So, if goats and sheep and cattle are all fair prey, then livelihoods are being affected and people can be disgruntled with leopards. So how does this work?
Yeah, so what we found, no, is that firstly, because they have shared space so much with these animals, they don't look at these animals. I mean, historically, they have shared spaces. If not with leopards, with wolves. So there's always some wild animal, and there are hyenas also where I work. So it's not only leopards. So two things. One is that it's not an like for us, it's like, oh my God, leopards are living there. But for them, leopards are part of the landscape. Okay, so the way they look at it is different. Secondly, the losses, what our study found is that losses of livestock to leopards is just a small fraction of the losses. They lose a lot more of their livestock to things like disease, drowning and things like that. So when a farmer then doesn't mind the leopard because he's hardly causing it any damage. But the problem that happens is we as biologists go in and we only ask how much loss did you have to the leopard? And then we write it in our paper saying, oh, they lost like whatever USD, but we are not looking at the other losses, which are way more. And so that was a dilemma I had. Do you help a farmer who has lost one goat to a leopard in 5 years, or do you help him for those 10 goats he's losing each year to diseases? Like, what do you do as an intervention? I haven't found an answer to it, but it's a question. Yeah.
Then what about all these videos that you see online of people being barbaric to leopards, among other animals that they find in the landscape?
Yeah, so I think that just becomes a mob, and a mob against animals, mob against people is a mindless entity of its own. And I think that is what really gets the visuals, but I don't think that is, I mean, my experience is that is not what is happening 24/7 on the ground.
So isn't there a case to be made then that you catch these leopards and put them in a forest so people don't have to deal with burning the leopards or hassling them?
Yeah, so it doesn't work, and that's what our study in Junnar showed. That see these leopards. So simply put, if you have a village of people with resources around, and you decide you want to take away all the people and put them somewhere else, the village never will remain empty because there are going to be other people who will come and occupy that village. It's the same with the leopards. You take out an individual, if the resources are there, another leopard will come back, and because these are cats, they also have a tendency to home back. It's like your house cat. You pick it up and put it far away, it comes back, right? So in leopards too, they come back. So removal doesn't really help. And worse still, what we found is that, see, they do this in Namibia and all where the density of people is 2 per square kilometer. What you do with the leopards, it doesn't matter because it's not going to impact people's welfare because there are hardly any people. But in India, even like in the deepest protected area without people, the nearest person is about 10-20 kilometers away, right? And these leopards we are talking about, which have always lived in human dominated landscape, have never seen a forest in their life, right? And they're used to people, they're used to domestic animals. So what we found is when you pick up leopards from an area which haven't done anything to people, just pick them up because, oh, they've been seen and you're scared, and you go drop them in this release site, attacks on people start near where they have been released, which is way more dangerous. You're actually creating a much bigger problem. And then you talk to the forest department people back where the trap cage was put, and they'll say like, how many we've removed? 6, 7, 8 leopards, and still we put up trap cages and there's still more leopards being trapped. So it doesn't work. Yeah.
Sorry. So you're saying you take a leopard that hasn't done something in one place and you put it in another place and it invariably attacks people. Why is that?
I don't know about invariably. All we found was that the more you do it, the more problems you have near the release site. Okay. And I think it's because, one, these animals are highly territorial. Okay. So they know their area so well. So they know how to keep out of a problem with humans. Now you take it, and the entire process of trapping, translocation is extremely stressful to wild animals. Okay, and then you do all that and release it like 100, 200 kilometers away in an area which has resident leopards. Okay, it has no clue what to do there, and the first thing it'll do is go towards a human habitation because it knows that's familiarity for it. And then it's hungry, no food, doesn't know where water, sees a little kid, sees somebody crouching. In a country like India, you shouldn't be messing around with large predators because the consequences can be really bad. So, if they haven't done anything, the best thing is to do monitoring and have proactive methods to deal with the issue. We find our example in Maharashtra and in Uttarakhand have shown that that really helps much more than capture release.
What are these proactive measures?
So the first thing is that, the forest department has to see, they are looked out, they are the ones that are seen as the custodians of these leopards, right? So they have to change the way they interact with people during these kind of situations. So our experience from both Bombay and Uttarakhand shows that if the forest department is more proactive, so if a complaint comes, they immediately attend to it. Okay, and they are with the people, they go there, monitor it for a couple of days. That is one aspect, very important. The second, very important, is again, the administration has to be able to respond. Like if there's an emergency, like a leopard caught in a snare or leopard in a building, their team should be able to go in there and manage it very professionally and take that leopard out. That really increases the way the people view the positive nature, the way the people view the department, which is very important. Okay, they say, okay, these people know what they are doing. Then the third, what we find is media is really important. Like you can't do all these good things and keep on having the media bash the situation and bash the department. So media interactions are very important, very powerful, because they can change the way, like, what normally it is, oh, this man-eater leopard was seen here, but it doesn't help, right? It doesn't help the situation. But if they say, oh, this should have been done and why wasn't this done, that really helps change the situation in the future. And fourth, what I believe really works is, and which is shown also in Maharashtra and in Uttarakhand, is involving the local people in awareness. See, people are scared, which is why they put pressure on the department, and they are right to be scared because it is a scary thing, right? But like I always say, that fear and understanding are two sides of the same coin. You just need to flip it. And with greater understanding, and it's not just with wild animals, even between human communities. When you're fearful of another community, you do all kinds of things. But when you have lunch with them or you're working with them, then it changes the way you view these people. So it's the same with the leopards. And for that, you have to have good engagement with, like in Bombay, the citizens are involved. In Uttarakhand, for instance, the local village people are involved. The schools are involved. And that just increases the level of understanding in the landscape. So, yeah.
So what would you suggest to people living in these landscapes? How do they reduce the risk of running into leopards?
So, there are very simple do's and don'ts. See, everything has its associated risks, okay? Like crossing a road, okay? That's why you have speed breakers and that's why you have signal lights. It's not like free for all, do what you want, right? And then you blame the government, right? So in this case as well, there are a lot of simple do's and don'ts. One is that, the leopard is really, really scared of human beings because we are its predator at the end of it. Okay. So then so the best way then is to announce your presence to the leopard. It can be by talking, singing songs, playing the mobile, even if you're alone. Then the leopard immediately goes away. Okay. The other very important thing is your children. Like, do not leave your children alone out in the time of the leopard, which is dawn and dusk and the night time. And in case of livestock loss, what studies have shown is that the best way to reduce it is to have good nighttime protection for the livestock. And daytime, the best thing was seen was that vigil by an adult for your livestock is a very important, like it shows that the predators keep away. So, and there are a lot of other material around on the web, like Project Vagoba webpage has a separate little link where all the awareness materials we put up. So I'm sure you can see that. Yeah.
So often you hear when in cases of an attack on a human, the newspaper report said it was a case of mistaken identity and someone was crouching and the leopard probably thought that the person was an animal. Does that strike you as happening? Is it for real?
See, I don't know. So the thing about human attacks, it's fascinating, is that everything is a theory at the end of the day, right? But I don't believe, like, it could be possible, but in the night time, see, these animals are not chasers like the cheetah, they're not like running after the human beings to catch them. They stalk like house cats, which means that they sit and watch you for hours together, maybe. And they know that, and their killing has to happen within a matter of seconds. Okay. So if it's just an injury, like I believe that if a leopard has killed a person by attack on the neck, then it really knew what it was doing. Okay, it has watched that person for a long time, known where the neck is, which means that the leopard knows where the human's neck is to have gone for the neck. Yeah, but what is amazing is 99.9% of the time it's not doing anything. Right.
True.
And yeah, and that that it's that movie 21st Century Cats, which Rom handled, which it, and that scene where the leopard ran away when we were 100 meters away, when we shunned the torch. Yeah. But when Rom walked up 40 meters or more close to it, I think even 20 meters Rom went up to with a night vision, the leopard just continued eating. So it knows what a torch is, and it knows humans can't see it in the night. Its vision is supposed to be amazing in the dark. I forget how many times better, but it's supposed to be some X times better in the night than humans, which means that they know what is happening.
Wow.
So it's a bit hard for me to think that, one, I believe a lot of human attacks are caused by mothers who are defending their cubs. See, another thing is that, when hunters are in the landscape, okay, and they get attacked, I'm sure the cats know what a gun is and what a hunter is. Okay. And and a female always has cubs with her, she's definitely going to go for the person. And that person's not going to go to the forest department and say, oh, I had a gun and I got attacked by a leopard. That person's going to say, oh, I was like walking in the forest and I got attacked. Right? So we really we hear only about one side, that the leopard attacked a person. We really don't know what made it attack, I think. Right. I mean, this is just theorizing. This is what I believe. I may be wrong. Yeah.
Which reminds me that there is that famous Jim Corbett thing that the tiger is a gentleman, but he didn't have that many nice things to say about leopards. So now that you've worked so long with leopards, what do you think?
I think Jim Corbett was a good hunter. I'm not sure he was a good biologist to write about biology of the leopards, You want to say hi to my cat? Just wait.
Yeah, it's been very insistent.
Yeah, I know. He just wants to be petted there.
Oh. Hi, meow.
Yeah. So tell me.
Leopard in your house.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to change gears. I'm going to ask you, what were the challenges, or what are the challenges you face as a woman in the field?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because I think as a woman, I don't think I had really many challenges. If at all, I think the local people, like this is during my field work, I think the local people, especially the women of the households, were much more welcoming, and it was really nice. I got fed a lot of nice meals and stuff like that. So, but the main challenge, oh God, this guy is not going to keep quiet now. The main challenge, if you ask me, was from our own community, which I think is pretty chauvinistic, especially when it comes to women working on large cats. And it is
Really?
biologists, like which other, yeah, I think there's just one other woman biologist who works on large, I mean, any large animals in India, like where do you see the women working as much on them? Tell me,
Hmm.
which other large cat biologist do you know who's a woman? I know only one.
Who?
Nina, like Raman,
Uh,
who worked on lions. Yeah, but
so,
I
what happens? Like, what kind of chauvinism do you face from the wildlife biologist community?
so it was much more when I was younger. Like now, I'm even able to say this. I wouldn't have been able to say it. It's not like actively there, but I think wildlife biology is perhaps seen as a very macho field,
Hmm.
and that is how it's also depicted, kind of, in what do you call those trousers with those pockets on the side?
Cargo pants.
Cargo pants, like, cargo pants and like a big lens in your hand and like this hat. And it's got like, this very, I need to work on my shoulders more types. But um, so when I was younger, it was like pretty bad. And, I think women do bring a different perspective to this whole thing. There's no way the women of the household are going to sit and chat with you about the leopards in their backyard if you're a guy. Just,
How
a
important
simple.
is that?
I think it's really important because I also think this thing of engaging with the. I mean, earlier I was like, "What? Why am I like? Why are these people talking so much to me? Because I can't get my work done. I had like work to do." But it's only when they tell you their stories and tell you what happened. And this, I remember this old grandmother. Like we went around asking, are there leopards there? And they were having some lunch there. They're like, yeah, whatever, come and have lunch with us. So we had an amazing lunch. And then that old grandmother, she like, I saw a leopard pug mark, and all her sons are all like, whatever, old woman. She like, no, come along. And she showed us, and she told us
Wow.
what happened. So I think definitely women bring a different perspective. I'm not saying which is better, which is worse, not at all. Okay.
Mhm.
I think we have a lot to learn from each other, but I think definitely what we don't have to learn is chauvinism from, with respect to research, like, so yeah, I just wish a lot more, you know, a lot less of cargo pants and more of, you know, empathy was around in our field. So.
Okay, I have a question from Sri Lanka. There was a
Yeah,
black leopard that was snared in a meant for wild
right.
boar, and they darted it, took it away, and it then subsequently died. And there was a lot of anger against the wildlife department. So the question from Manori Gunawardana in Sri Lanka is, what is the prognosis for snared leopards, and what should be done for them?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because I think by the time you find the leopard, it's already pulled itself out a lot. I would actually recommend that a targeted engagement with the community, to not snare. And why are they snaring? It's probably for wild boar,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I would recommend start a small pilot in a place where you can engage with the people and try and change the way they deal with the wild boar presence rather than snaring. That's
Hmm.
what I would recommend.
And another question is from Bidisha Mukherjee, who wants to know if mother leopards will abandon their cubs if they are handled by humans.
So as far as we know, Wildlife SOS has this rescue center in Junnar, and they keep finding a lot of cubs, like when the crop is being harvested. And they've done, I think, more than 25 reunitement with the mom. So I think even up to 10 days or so, if I'm not mistaken, every night they've gone and kept the cubs at that place, and the mom has come and taken it away. I don't think a mom is going to abandon her young ones. It's going to be pretty hard to do that, unless there's some serious reason for her to do it. They'll definitely take the young ones back. But I think these people also rub the young ones with leaves and all at the end just to mask the smell. I don't know how much, and I don't know how much it helps, but you can try doing all these things. Yeah.
Now that you work for this long in managing people and leopard relations, how do you feel your work has impacted the way we understand the situation and mitigate it?
Well, the only thing I can say is when I started work, almost 2 decades back, good Lord, there was a lot of opposition from people. They were like, no way leopards are living in human-dominated landscapes, and no way are they not doing anything to people. But I don't know if it's my work or it's just the general evolution of work. A lot more people working on wildlife and human-dominated landscapes. And there's a lot more of work coming from the human dimension point of view now, 20 years down the line. So I think generally the field has evolved over time. I will not say it was me or so, because a lot of other people who were also working on it. But it's nice. It's really nice to see the younger people having a much more open mind about this than what I had when I was younger.
What are your future plans? What are you working on now?
So I'm supposed to be writing 2 books, but I haven't started yet. Yeah. So one is a book like taken as an like kind of your book is that My Husband and Other Animals, like something just small anecdotes about my field work. But the other is a more about the science of my work. Yeah, that's the plan.
Good. Okay. Another frivolous question to end the interview.
Sure.
In an alternate universe, if you couldn't be a leopard biologist, what would you be?
Oh, I'd be a musician who could play by ear.
That sounds like fun. Thanks, Vidya. This has been great. I'm really enjoying
Thank you, Janki. Yeah.
You're
Say hi to
welcome.
Rom.
I'll do that.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.